Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Let's begin with a short blessing chant. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So welcome to our day. Always good to take time out to have a mindful meditative retreat day. And particularly this day being the last of our 4 Vassa Retreat days. So retreats within the context of the Vassa period, which is from the full moon of July to the full moon of October. So most of us, all of us maybe saw the big full moon on Thursday. I think it actually was a super moon. So special big moon, which often brings a little bit of rainy weather, which we have had, and certainly early this morning, around about 5 o'clock, showers. But now the sun is coming forth, drying things out a bit. So we may have a lovely sunny day with a few clouds, so not as warm as it was yesterday. Perfect day for a meditation day retreat. And as they say in Thailand, when they have special occasions, especially when lots of people come together in a monastery, if it doesn't rain, it's a blessing. If it does rain, it's a blessing. So it's all good. So certainly we can take the early morning rain as a blessing to cool things down, clean the air, and the plants and insects and animals are certainly happy with that. So setting up our day, obviously we've arrived here, but it's also important to arrive here mentally, emotionally, to really feel embodied in being here, to have the most of our retreat. And certainly we're not alone in being on this retreat. There's people joining us online as well. So we welcome those people online, wherever they may be. And also, in many ways, we can consider ourselves the lucky ones, not just because we woke up this morning. There's a lot of people went to sleep last night but didn't wake up this morning. But we woke up and we're here. There was about 20 odd people to be here today, but just over the last few days and even right up until 10 minutes ago, people say, oh, not feeling well or can't come. So that's the nature of life, uncertainty. So in that context, to really make the most of our day, given that we've been able to arrive here. So really arrive here mindfully, arrive into your body, arrive into this space, this room, the meditation room, Ratnagiri retreat, this place here, to allow ourselves to really have a retreat. Retreating, which is a movement away, not just in a military term to sort of fall back, step back, but a movement away from the ways of the world, maybe the ways in which we may otherwise be engaging on a Sunday morning, but moving away from the ways of the world externally and also internally as well. Because the world exists in our minds. The mind that gets caught up into thoughts of desire, aversion, confusion, delusion. So moving beyond the ways of the world and moving to, because if we move away from something, we're obviously moving to something else, moving towards clarity, moving towards peace, moving towards understanding, wisdom and compassion, moving towards well-being, moving towards freedom. And particularly in the context of our retreat day today, the 4th of the Vassa Retreat days, and the whole of the Vassa Retreat, the Buddha established as a 3-month period of time for monastics, monks and nuns, lay people that are spending that time being on a retreat to develop and deepen meditation practice, particularly meditation practice, because in a way, the heart of the Buddha's teachings is meditation. Sure, it's a teaching that has a foundation in sila, morality, the importance of morality, but morality is for the purpose of freeing the mind from fear, from confusion, from delusion, from misunderstandings, from ignorance, creating simplicity in one's life. So the term morality is a foundation of cultivating the mind for meditation. And so much of the Buddha's teachings, and particularly as we've explored over the last 3 months in looking into the theme of Early Buddhism, is about meditation practice. So certainly the whole emphasis of the Buddha's teachings is about cultivating the quality of our consciousness through meditation, through samadhi. And particularly that then allows and begets a quality, a clarity of awareness that can see and discern things more clearly, more profoundly. Superpower mindfulness, as Ajahn Brahm calls it, profound clarity to see in a different way that we would otherwise see. You know, the worldly mind sees things in a worldly way and a lot of self-interest, but a mind that's refined and developed and purified through meditation sees things differently, sees the truth of things, sees cause and effect, sees the 3 characteristics that the Buddha pointed out of all things. So fundamental change. Everything's changing, fluxing, uncertain. And because things change, then they're not a sure thing, which brings about a sense that things can't ultimately satisfy. They tend to be unsatisfactory because they won't last. So that's the sense of dukkha, not just impermanence, anicca, but dukkha, unsatisfactoriness, unsatisfying. And also the appreciation of because things change, there can't be any permanent me. The idea of self, me, is just an idea. The appearance of a sense of self, an apparition even. That self is a collective, a complexity, sometimes a confusion of phenomena that are arising and passing from moment to moment. Mental phenomena, feeling, felt phenomena, physical phenomena arising and passing, particularly with the mind that identifies with, that identifies as a phenomena, a mood, a feeling, a mental state, a physical state, I'm not well, or I am happy, or I am whatever, a role. So through insight, the mind can then see that even the sense of self isn't static, stable, enduring. The idea of it endures through the course of a lifetime, but it's a fluxing phenomena. So the mind that's refined and developed through meditation sees that more accurately and acutely, to the point of being able to let go of buying into that particular illusion, not being fooled by it. So letting go, a freedom, because most of the stress and suffering that we have is to do with ourselves. I'm unhappy with this. I want more of that. Why do I have to deal with this, etc.? So that if the mind has insight into the nature of self, then a lot of the suffering that comes from self, through self, as self, falls away. So the Buddhist path is a path of awakening to truth, awakening and freeing the mind from confusion, delusion, illusion, towards ultimate freedom, ultimate freedom. And the possibility of that within this very lifetime. And hence a retreat period offers a special time, not just a day, but certainly the 3-month Vassa Retreat period to focus on clarity, refinement of mind, and liberation. So the beauty of our meditation practice is that it can continue. It doesn't finish on a retreat day. like today, or on a retreat period, the 3-month non-residential for us retreat period, but the meditation continues. So in a way, I was thinking that a lot of what we have been practicing and developing over the 3-month period with the 4 Sundays, monthly days, hopefully that continues for you, particularly if you have developed some routines that have been helpful, or even if you haven't. Some of you might be here for the first time, or haven't sort of observed the 3-month period, but it's okay. What I'm developing today, can I keep that going into the ongoing hours beyond our retreat day, finishing at 3 p.m., into the week ahead, the few weeks ahead, the month ahead, even into next year. So establishing some healthy practices so that a retreat period becomes a particular time to develop habits that we can make more our regular way of being. Mentally, again, sort of psychologically, spiritually, physically, into life, some healthy habits. So some of you may have developed some healthy habits over the course of doing these Sunday retreats that have continued during the week, maybe getting up a bit earlier for meditation, doing more meditation, doing some reading, doing some studying, maybe not doing certain things. So some things to do, some things not to do. But the idea is to continue to make it more and more part of one's life. So the more we do these Sunday sessions, the more we maybe come to the meditation group on a Thursday night, Vassa Retreat, over time, we're building up a momentum of mindfulness, awareness, wisdom, behaviors that support our well-being towards freedom. Because as the Buddha said, we live in the realm of uncertainty. And so that we want to make good use, profound use of our time and energy, because who knows how much time and energy we have left in this life. That's the uncertainty that we live with. But if we are practicing meditation, mindfulness, living in a wholesome, moral way, ethical with wisdom, then there's going to be less chance of regret, remorse, guilt, shame. We know that we've been living well. And when that last moment comes, that last breath, like, it's okay. I've lived well. A sense of completeness. So certainly these are just some ideas to feel into and to make motivation for our retreat day. I'll talk a bit about the theme for this day, which is the Eightfold Path. Talk a bit about that a little bit later on, so that each of the retreat days over the Vassa period, the 3-month, 12 weeks, we've had a particular theme. But the general theme for the whole retreat has been looking into early Buddhism, the period of Buddhism from the time of the Buddha. So the Buddha lived between the 6th and 5th century BCE. And so the first 200 years from through the Buddha's life and after, before Buddhism started to develop different schools of Buddhism, different sects, we could say, different perspectives on things, which now we have 3 main schools of Buddhism, we could say. The oldest being Theravada Buddhism, found in Southeast Asia, Thailand, Sri Lanka, Burma, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia. Mahayana Buddhism, found in China, Korea, Japan, with the expression of Zen Buddhism in Japan and parts of Korea. And then we have Vajrayana Buddhism, the expression of Buddhism in Tibet and Bhutan. But looking back into what was the Buddha practicing, what was the Buddha teaching, what was he pointing out as being important at the time that he was teaching, before the various schools of Buddhism developed. So we'll be looking into that over the last 3 months with various PDFs that I've sent through, including this, which is actually a book, Rethinking the Buddha, early Buddhist philosophy as meditative perception. So some of you may have started reading it. It's a couple hundred pages, quite academic, but also quite practical as well. And also I suggested that when we started that you get a folder, and then in the folder I sent out the Vassa Retreat 2024 and a page where you can sort of log your meditation practice, and then the various sort of things that I've said that you could print off if you wanted to. So in a way, it's a bit of a study, which is where the Vassa Retreat often is used not just for meditation, but also for study. Yes, studying the mind, but also studying something in particular. So the early Buddhist teachings. The second session, we looked into what was the meditation practice that the Buddha advocated. And so the Buddha advocated Samma Samadhi, which is the eighth factor of the Eightfold Path, which is specifically jhana practice, the four deeper meditations, four absorption meditations. So that's what the Buddha designated as right meditation. And in many ways, it's only through refining the mind through deeper meditation. And for that, the mind needs to let go of being caught up in the five hindrances, the things that hinder mental calm and clarity. The five mental hindrances: thoughts of sense desire, thinking about something nice to eat or listen to or whatever. So thoughts of sense desire, thoughts of aversion, don't like, don't want, aversive thoughts, negative thoughts, angry thoughts, mental dullness, difficult to have clarity of mind when the mind's becoming dull, mental agitation, agitated restlessness, and the last one, thoughts of doubt, skeptical doubt. And even if the mind is thinking, it's difficult to then become collected and concentrated and focused. So when the mind is freed from these five hindrances, that's when the mind can enter into what is called access concentration, the access into deeper states. So the brain moving from beta brainwave patterns into an alpha state, which also means there's less muscle tension in the body, better blood flow, better hormones occurring, enhancing the immune system, better functioning of the brain, and also the increase of serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine, so feel-good hormones. So it feels good, which becomes one of the insights of the Buddha was that people seek to be happy. And certainly that's been said for thousands of years by saints, the Buddha, sages, the Buddha, psychologists, scientists, saviors, Jesus, that more than anything else, people strive to be happy. They're after a good feeling. Freud spoke a lot about it as the pleasure principle. The thing that motivates people is the pleasure principle. The Buddha saw that if people can find a peace, a pleasure, a profound pleasure that's not limited, that doesn't sort of change, that could be a motivation. And yes, the ultimate pleasure is the pleasure of full, complete spiritual enlightenment. Buddha said, Sankhara parama dukkha, nibbanang paramang sukhang. So Sankhara, the world and worldly phenomena, are greatly parama dukkha, unsatisfactory, unsatisfying. Nibbanang, enlightenment, nibbana. Paramang, like paramount, is the greatest. Sukha, satisfaction, happiness. So yes, that is a goal, but along the way, to be able to develop the mind in meditation, so the peace, the joy, the bliss of meditation becomes something which is more important to us than going and buying something, getting something online, going to a restaurant. Yes, nice things, not bad, but to see that there's a peace, there's a pleasure, there's a joy that comes from a calm, still mind. And so to be, the Buddha said also that it's wisdom that's able to let go of a lesser happiness to realize a higher happiness. So life can be a lot simpler if we go, yes, the bliss I get in meditation is better than having to go bungee jumping, abseiling, motorbike riding, partying, whatever. Just sit down and meditate and just watch the breath. How much does that cost? Well, it's the cost in time. So, and in doing so, the mind's becoming more refined and purified. So letting go of clinging and craving and wanting and so forth, and then finding and becoming more refined and then seeing things more clearly, profound wisdom. So that the Buddha was advocating for practitioners to janati, say janati, go and practice meditation, jhana. He would say there are these forests, these trees, these huts, these spaces. Go and find yourself a place to sit and meditate as the way to profound freedom. And we can say, well, how does that relate to me today? How does it relate to our world today? Well, it relates exactly in the sense that we still, as human beings in the 21st century, we're still beset with the same issues that people had 2,500 years ago, caught up in self-centeredness, greed, anger, confusion, delusion, so forth. So the same psychology of mind is fundamentally still there. We haven't changed that much. Just the things that we might seek might be a little bit different. We might want a new one of these, a phone or something else, but basically there's still fundamental wanting something different, something better, something bigger, something smaller, something red, maybe two or something younger. It's like basic wanting is still there. So the Buddha's teachings, yes, it relates to that which is perennial, the human condition. And therefore, the meditation is something which we can use as much now as it was used 2,500 years ago. Enlightenment is still, it's not like, oh, it's a fashion, it's gone out of fashion. No, it's something which we can still realize and make good use of in the 21st century, and particularly in the context of the challenges of the world at the moment. I think more than say 50 years ago, I was thinking about this last night. I was thinking back in the 1970s, when I was young, the world seemed to be really, really good and interesting, and people had a lot less fears. American TV wasn't that bad. Had some good shows, but 50 years later, we live with fear. Like, how long is the planet going to last? Are we going to pollute ourselves to death? Are we going to sort of eat ourselves off the planet? Are we going to blow ourselves off the planet? So can we afford to live? Cost of living. Can we afford to buy a house? It's really sad that the young people are despairing around their future, because what might have been okay 50 years ago, it doesn't work like that anymore. So hence the need for maybe the motivation towards realization, towards enlightenment, that getting born back into this whole system again. It's like, well, do you really want to do that? If you don't get enlightened this lifetime and then getting reborn again, it's like, oh, that's a scary, scary thought. Going to school again, like school might have been okay a number of years ago. Speak to school teachers about this. It's like, oh, it's getting so hard with kids that they're undisciplined. They don't show respect. It's so difficult. So even if you're a good student, it's more challenging these days because of the challenges that teachers have and that students have and problems. So again, the motivation towards enlightenment through practicing our meditation. Last session, we looked into the fundamental core teaching of the Buddha, the Four Noble Truths. These are truths for developing wisdom. developing understanding, and particularly in the context of this book, where Eviatar Schulman, who's an academic, points out, by looking back at the early teachings, the translations, and appreciating that the Four Noble Truths, a profound, fundamental core teaching of the Buddha, he points out, could have been used as a meditative perspective. So that even like the Buddha's teachings as a philosophical perspective on life, the human condition, and then using the four noble truths as a way of looking at experience for the purpose of letting go, for the purpose of realizing enlightenment. And so these four truths are that there is stress and suffering in life. This is stress and suffering. Even if it's just subtle, still stress and suffering. That there is a cause to this stress and suffering. The cause is wanting in some sort of a way, even wanting something to not be. I want this to not be. I don't want to have to deal with this. I want this not to be happening. So just wanting. Second noble truth is the truth of the cause of suffering, which is clinging, craving, wanting. The third truth is that this the suffering, the stress, the angst, the unease can end, especially if we let go of the wanting. How can we let go of the wanting? Well, that's the fourth truth. There is a practice path that leads to the end of the wanting, which is the Eightfold Path, which we'll be looking into today. And the Eightfold Path is part of the first teaching of the Buddha. So after the Buddha's enlightenment, he thought, this awareness that I've realized, this insight, this understanding, this freedom, it's not something that everybody would be inclined towards wanting or realizing. It's difficult. And so that, he was motivated to go back and teach his five friends who he was practicing with for some time. They were sort of practicing yoga and asceticism, and felt the way to realize enlightenment was to fast. Not that they had realized enlightenment, but they thought, well, the last desire is to eat, so therefore don't eat. Maybe you get enlightened. So Siddhartha, the Buddha-to-be, tried this to the point where he was nearly dying because he hadn't eaten. And then he realized this is no way to look after the mind, to cultivate the mind. The mind is becoming dull because it's the brain's not functioning properly. This extreme asceticism is not healthy. And then he had a memory of a peace of mind, the bliss of mind that he had when he was a child, sitting under the rose apple tree, watching his father, the king, performing a ploughing ceremony, sort of digging the earth for the first time for the season. And his mind went into a deep, profound peace, jhana, meditation. And then so this remembrance of maybe that is the way to peace, to have a calm, clear, profound, deep mind through meditation. And so he took up then the practice of that meditation, refining the mind, then realizing full, complete spiritual enlightenment, realizing that this is the way to enlightenment through this meditation practice. And so he thought, well, maybe now I've realized full enlightenment and there's no one else that has this profound clarity, enlightenment. There may be a few that may be interested in this. So he went back and taught his five friends. When they saw him coming, sort of at a distance, they said, there's Siddhartha. He's gone over to the slack way. You can see he's put on weight. If he comes here, don't speak to him. Just ignore him. But the closer he got, he had this aura around him and a sort of a profound sort of peace and radiance, and they couldn't help themselves. So please sit down, here's some water. Obviously, you've realized something profound. Please teach us. And so the Buddha said, yes, I have realized the way to full, complete spiritual enlightenment. I am enlightened. I am a Buddha, one who's found the way to enlightenment for themselves without relying on the teachings of anyone else. There's no other Buddhas at that time. And so the Buddha then taught the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the turning of the wheel of truth discourse. So the first sermon. And in many ways, the Buddha taught for the next 45 years, but those 45 years of teachings were just, in a way, extrapolations and refinement of that fundamental core teaching, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, which basically states that there are these two extremes people get caught up in: extreme asceticism, austerities, extreme indulgence, pleasure. But the way to freedom is the middle way between these two extremes. Some degree of renunciation, but not too much. Yes, there's the pleasure that comes from meditation. That's okay. The pleasure that comes from a calm, still mind. So the middle way between two extremes, and that allows the mind to become calm and still, and then to see the four truths. Yes, there is the truth of stress and suffering, that life does involve stress and suffering. It's not all just a bed of roses. The thorns are there as well. And this truth is to be acknowledged, to acknowledge that yes, I'm distressed, I'm upset, I'm confused, I'm angry, I'm not well. Acknowledge that. Second truth, cause of suffering, is clinging, craving, wanting. That is to be understood. Understand what your source of suffering is. Third truth, enlightenment, end of suffering, is to be realized. The fourth truth, the practice path, is to be practiced. So after we've done some meditation, we'll look into this way of practice, the Eightfold Path, and maybe even I'd sort of advocate try and learn it off by heart. It's eight factors, these 8 elements on the chart here. So welcome to take a photograph of that if you like. And obviously online there's places you can find them as well. So let's settle in to some meditation. If you need to stand and stretch for a minute, because we'll sit for about 30 minutes. So just establishing a comfortable sitting position, aligning our body with some degree of symmetry, balance, poise, helping to enable some inner mindful presence. Our eyes gently closed, helping to bring awareness within. And having an initial deep, relaxing, letting go breath. Nice deep breath sends a signal to our brain to release endorphins to soothe the muscles, tendons, tissue of our body. And the outgoing breath is also a psychological symbol of letting go. So breathing out, letting go of issues, worries, concerns, at least for the next while. Our day on retreat, moving the mind from the ways of the world, the roles that the mind uses as self to engage into the world, whatever those roles might be, those roles of self being a partner, being a parent, brother, son, sister, daughter, colleague, friend, whatever those roles might be, allowing them to dissolve, letting go. Appreciating that roles come with responsibilities, obligations, duties, stress, and thinking. So if the mind's not relating through the persona, the mask of a role, then thoughts that relate to that role are not necessary. The mind doesn't need to engage them. Giving the mind the possibility of pausing thought, and rather using the energy that gets spent up in thinking to focus mindful attention in the present, this place and point of existence, the present. So we can even say that meditation is realizing the point of existence, making that real for us, the point of existence, the present moment, the eternal present moment, always only now, never not now. So allowing the mind to arrive into this present moment with a calm, objective, receptive, attentive knowing. And as our reference point for the present moment, we can use the naturally occurring sensation of the breath. Nothing complex, no profound thought, just the sensation of the in-breath, sensation of the out-breath, particularly at the nose nostril area. Just the naturally occurring breath, even allowing the body to breathe itself. So finding a place of main sensation somewhere in the nose nostril area, directing attention to that place and holding attention there. So exerting some right effort to hold attention. Don't hold the breath, just hold attention on the sensation of the inflow, outflow of each breath, which helps the mind to become calm, quietening down, allowing some inner stillness, silence, spaciousness. Feeling each breath whilst also maybe looking into the space in front through the closed eyelids, into that lightness, brightness, blankness. And if you find it helpful to use a mental mantra, one or two meditative words in the mind to help block out thoughts, even for the first part of the meditation, such meditative words as calm as we breathe in Ease as we breathe out. Calm, ease. Calm, ease. Calm, ease. Exercising attention, developing focus, leading to mental collectedness, composure, concentration, and inner calm ease. Developing samadhi, a coalescence, collectedness, concentration of mind. Samadhi. Noticing if the mind's got caught into some thinking, and if so, gently retrieving our attention, returning it back to the breath, feeling and knowing each breath, even emphasizing the breath a little to begin with, if it's helpful to feel a strong, long breath, connecting the mind to the breath. Calming and quieting the mind, feeling into the body, present moment, simply being. Be sitting, sensing, savoring the moment through each mindful breath. Mind, body aligned in the present. Feeling and knowing each soothing, therapeutic breath. Be sitting, being, breathing, knowing each mindful breath, nurturing, nourishing mind, body, and being. And just noticing if the mind's become distracted into thinking. If so, just gently retrieving our attention, leading our mind back to the breath, back to the present moment, feeling and knowing each breath, developing calm, clarity, peace, and presence. Just a few minutes left in our meditation, maintaining right effort, staying present with each breath, leaning into the present moment through each soothing, therapeutic breath. Before ending this meditation, inwardly reminding ourselves to try and sustain as much of this calm, mindful focus, keeping that going on into the ongoing moments, minutes, hours of the day and evening. To end the meditation, just taking a deep breath and slowly opening our eyes to finish. We can continue our meditation with some walking meditation if you like. So about 30 minutes till about 11:15. If you wish to keep sitting, that's fine. If you wish to go out and walk a bit, come back in, fine. Or even if you would like to just sit outside on one of the chairs, just sit and breathe, know in the present, that's fine. So 30 minutes before we then sort of come back inside again and do some more group meditation. I'll ring my chimes when it's time to come back in. So if you hear that sound, just mindfully walk back into the hall here. So feel free to sit and walk. We'll be back in 30 minutes. So settling back into our meditation, keeping the momentum of mindfulness going from having done some sitting, some mindful walking, now returning to the sitting again, noticing how the mind settles, having done some walking meditation, settling into the sitting, setting up the body, nice balanced, symmetrical sitting position, eyes gently closed, helping to bring our awareness within. A few mindful, relaxing breaths, feeling into the body, noticing some contact points with the body, maybe the feet connecting with the floor. Feeling our body connecting with the chair, cushion, or meditation stool. Noticing and feeling the placement of our hands and fingers, making sure they feel comfortable, adjusting them if we need to, and feeling the contact sensation of hands and fingers. Bringing awareness up to our face, noticing our face, even feeling the air connecting with our face. Seeing subtle light coming in through the closed eyelids. And even looking into that lightness, brightness, or blankness through the closed eyelids. A forward focused gaze into the space in front through the closed eyelids, into that lightness, brightness, or blankness. Not being distracted by background sounds. And particularly not getting caught into the internal mental sight or sound of thoughts, where all thoughts occur as a mental image that we see, or a mental sound or voice that we hear. Rather using our mind to focus mindful attention in the present by connecting with each soothing, therapeutic breath. Mindfulness of breathing, anapanasati. Developing a collectedness of mind, coalescence of mind, concentration of mind, samadhi. Allowing the mind to move into deeper states of meditative awareness, jhana, absorption. So finding that place of main sensation in the breath, getting the breath in the nose nostril area somewhere, directing attention to that place and holding or sustaining attention to feel the natural inflow, outflow of each breath, letting our body find its own natural rhythm of breathing, exercising, strengthening, training the mind in attention, letting each breath be enough to notice, not seeking distraction or entertainment, self-interest, but just noticing each soothing, life-giving breath. Each breath giving life to the body, each mindful breath developing alertness and aliveness to the mind. Feeling each breath and looking into that lightness, brightness through the closed eyelids, using the mental meditative mantra or word in the mind if we wish. Helping mind and body to settle, come back to center, come back to ease and inner well-being and joy. Peace of simply being. And just mindfully checking where the attention is, and if it's got caught into some thoughts, bringing our attention back to the here now, the present moment, making each breath special by giving attention, paying attention, a gift of attention to each breath, rewarding the mind with calm, clarity, concentration, feeling of inner ease, joy, feeling and knowing each breath in each moment. Just before ending this meditation, inwardly reminding ourselves to try and sustain as much of this calm, mindful focus, keeping that going on into the ongoing moments, minutes, hours of the day and evening. And to end the meditation, just taking a deep breath and slowly opening our eyes to finish. How are we feeling? Okay, good enough? Getting there? We've now done an hour and a half of meditation and a bit of listening as well. Certainly the whole idea is to make our day a meditative day. So yes, formal meditation, sitting meditation, walking meditation, but also the meditative activity of listening or reflecting, asking a question, offering a comment, mindful tea drinking, eating, mindful day. So the Buddha taught the four truths, the four noble truths, the dukkha arya satcha, dukkha, the word that describes a sense of unease, dis-ease, discontent, dissatisfaction, stress, suffering. It's an encompassing type of word. Dukkha. Arya means noble, enlightened. And satcha is a word for truth. So the four noble truths, noble in the sense that they lead to enlightenment. If understood, realized. And whilst the four truths are, yes, about stress and suffering, but they're also about the relief from stress and suffering, as in the third noble truth, there is the ending of stress and suffering, completely enlightenment. And also, importantly, there is the way to the ending. So it wouldn't be enough to just go, okay, yes, there is stress and suffering in life. Birth is painful, aging, illness, death, everything in between, degrees of stress and suffering, not getting what I want, stress and suffering, losing what I like and love, stress and suffering, having to be with the unpleasant is stress and suffering, dealing with the realities of this mind-body complex, stress and suffering. But we can understand that, appreciate that, agree with that, and even sort of get a sense of, yeah, well, I can see that if I'm clinging, wanting, holding something, attached to something, yeah, it's going to be a source of stress and suffering, especially if that changes, or I don't end up getting what I want. Or I've got it, but I fear losing it because of the attachment to it. Yeah, we can understand that. And sure, the possibility, wow, to be enlightened, the mind free from that clinging attachment, greed, that's a possibility. But how do we do that? So of these four truths, a really important one is the how-to, the method, the way, the path. So fortunately, the Buddha taught the way, and the Buddhist word for this is Arya Atangika Magga. So Arya, so noble or enlightened. Atta is eight. Anga means elements, like the word Sangha. Anga, so elements. Sa means to connect, connecting elements, group, organization, Sangha. Today we are a Sangha of practitioners. So the 8 elements. And then we have the word Magga. Magga means path or way. So these 8 elements become the way to enlightenment. And certainly these 8 elements are to be appreciated, but mainly practiced. And they are quite practical things that we can engage in daily life. In a way, it's a path or a way of being that encompasses mind, speech, and body, a whole way of being. And in a way, the eightfold or 8 elements as a practice path is like a template. A template. It's not just a path. It's a template. And the word template's interesting. Anyone know the etymology of the word template? So from what I understand, template relates to the word temp. The word temp is an old English word with a Latin derivative, which means a notch. So, for example, if you were a fisherman and in the particular fishing season that is right fishing season for you based upon the currents and the fish, and you catch a particular big fish, you could carve a temp to be in the bit of wood on the side of the boat, so a notch. And then so every time you catch a fish that's a big one, you make a temp, a notch, and then that season you can count up how many notches you have to go, okay, I caught 24 big fish in that 3-month period that they were swimming north. But temp moved from being a system of counting, particularly when there was 2 temps made. One temp at the nose of the fish, one temp at the end of the fish, the tail. Then you've got a measurement. Okay, a measurement to of the how big that fish was, and then every other fish you can measure it to that. Okay, is it bigger than that or smaller than that? And that's where temp became a system of measurement. So we have many words in English that relate to that have the word temp in them. Who knows a few?
Temperature.
Okay, temperature.
Temporary.
Measurement of heat.
Temporary.
Temporary. A small amount of time, small measurement of time. That's 2.
Temple.
Temple, yes, temple. Temple's an interesting one because it relates to the Latin word templum. And a templum, again, is like a template. And then the word templum, was a measurement up. So temples were always built in geographically important places, on hills, mountains, and they tended to relate to the stars, the planets, so that the main sort of column or pillar may be aligned to the North Star at the spring equinox. And then over the course of the year, you can see the star has moved. Actually, the temple's moved. Okay, we're so many pillars along, or so many months along, and even the idea of measuring up. We have this saying in English, does he, she measure up? Measuring up to the ideal heavens above. So a temple was a measurement on the ground of the ideal world, the heavens above.
Temperamental.
Temperamental? Not sure how that one works. We have temper.
Temper, yeah.
Temper.
You say temperature?
We said that. Yeah. To temper a piece of metal, to bring it to its right sort of heat and balance. So to temper, to fire it up. Tempering a piece of steel.
The Templar Knights, the ancient Templar Knights.
Yep. So probably the word relates there somewhere as well.
Temptation.
Temptation.
We have temper as well.
Tempo.
No, temper in the sense of having a temper, being angry.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that one relates.
Right.
But we have
Tempo.
tempo, the measurement of musical beats. And we have the word for meditation. Another word for meditation, contemplation. So a template's important, and we use them all the time. But the Buddha designed a template in the Eightfold Path that if we align to these 8 factors, then we are living in an enlightened way, living as an enlightened person would. And so these 8 factors relate to mind, speech, and body. The first one is sammaditthi. That they're all prefixed with the word samma, which means right or correct or wholesome. I need to remind myself that the 8 factors as a practice path, I usually teach it as a 10-week course, 2-hour sessions. So I don't want to get too much into, otherwise we'll be here all day. So as a bit of a summary, sammaditthi, right view. Really, really important that this practice path begins with right view, sammaditthi, right view. How we see things, how we see, view, perspect is really, really important, because if we begin with the wrong view, engaging practice, then we can end up practicing wrong, get stuck. So having clarity of view, right view, and particularly the Buddha describes right view as an appreciation, understanding of the 4 noble truths of dukkha, of stress and suffering. So fundamentally, that's right view to have. But also we can say to have a right view is to see things with clarity, objectivity, correct objective view of things. The next one is sammasankappa, which is right thought. So the right use of thought. And particularly for meditation, often the issue that gets in the way is thinking. So right thought can even include not thinking. So like the right use of thought, not always using thought, but knowing when not to use thought, knowing when to just listen, or just to sense, just see, just hear, just smell, just taste, just touch, just feel, without thinking. The thinking gets caught into the comments and commentary and critique and complaint, all on top of or in the way of direct perception of experience. So the right use of thought, the skillful use of thought, elegant sufficiency with regards to the use of thought. And particularly, right thought is not engaging in thoughts that are motivated by or leading to greed, anger, or ignorance. The three ills that cause stress and suffering. Degrees of greed, clinging, craving, wanting, anger, aversion, hatred, and ignorance, misperception, misunderstanding, self-centeredness. So the opposite of having, that is having thoughts motivated by or leading to generosity. So rather than clinging, generosity, rather than hatred, kindness, care, compassion. And the opposite of ignorance, confusion, wisdom, understanding, insight. So the right use of thought. So even to be able to see my view and perspective, is that coming from greed, anger, ignorance, self-centeredness? The thoughts that I have, are they coming from greed, anger, ignorance? Then into samma vaca, which is right speech, the right use of speech. Because whilst our view, our perspective, our thoughts may remain private, as soon as we open our mouth, then things aren't so private. So speech, sure, we need to speak, connect, communicate, but doing so rightly. So right speech is speech that is not lying, not abusive, not malice, not gossip, not sort of a slander, right speech. And one of the things with right speech is there's 5 mindful check-ins for right speech. So before saying something, is this true? Is what I'm saying true? Is it true? Is it beneficial? Do I need to say this? Is it kind? Can I say this in a kind way? Is it kind to say this? Is it going to harm someone? Because maybe the person I'm speaking to, it's not going to harm them, but they're going to use this information elsewhere and maybe harm someone else. So it's an important consideration. And lastly, is it the right time? Because it may be, yes, those 4 things, correct, okay, but it's not the right time. And often, when I, as a psychologist and doing relationship counseling, couples counseling, often the miscommunication happens because the couple isn't choosing the right time to speak. Now, one of them's tired, or one of them's just got home and not ready to sort of listen to a whole lot of stuff, or they've only got a small amount of time in the car together before arriving somewhere and bring up a big topic. That's not the right time. So choosing the right time is really, really important with regards to right speech. And also the saying, if you can't improve upon silence, say nothing. A client loaned me a book just recently, last week, a book that she thought was pretty profound, and it is. It's a book called Big Panda, Tiny Dragon. And it's basically every page has an illustration of Big Panda and Tiny Dragon. Lovely sort of drawings, some of them in black and white, some of them in color, with a little sort of verse that's there as well, sort of a wisdom verse. The book was written by a chap during COVID because he wasn't able to connect with people, so he sort of wrote this book, did the drawings as a way of sort of being able to create something to connect with people afterwards. And there's a little saying in it where Tiny Dragon says to Big Panda, "You're a really good listener." And Big Panda says, "Thank you. I've never found any problems come from listening." But obviously, we know for ourselves, problems come when we speak. Even on reflection for myself, I think that the only times that I really regret something is when I've said the wrong thing, upset somebody, or disclosed too much, or spoken too much. Not listening. Listening's good, but speaking too much, or the wrong time, wrong thing, too much information can be a problem. So right speech, really, really important, and that flows into actions. So samma kammanta, right action, how we engage, because often you can see the flow through from how we view things, then affects how we think about things. We think and then speak what we've been thinking into actions. So really being mindful of our actions, and particularly the Buddha spoke about right action is upholding the 5 moral precepts. The 5 precepts are a foundation for wholesome action. If you're abiding by those, then we're less likely to cause any stress, suffering to ourselves or others. A foundation of wholesome relationship, the 5 precepts. So refraining from harming living creatures, particularly with malice intention. Refraining from taking that which hasn't been given, stealing. Refraining from wrong sexual conduct, so not engaging in sexual behaviors that are abusive. Refraining from wrong speech, so again, lying, abusive speech, malice speech, gossip, etc. And the last one, refraining from the misuse of drugs and alcohol that causes confusion. If we're abiding by those five precepts, that's engaging in behaviors that are going to be helpful for us. and also for relationship and community. Very, very important. Because again, it's difficult to meditate. We sit down, we've got regret, remorse, or frustration, irritations because we've said or done things that are upsetting and affect our clarity of mind. And of course, action, right? Action moves into how we spend a lot of our life at work. So, samma ajiva, right livelihood. And I think it's the Buddha's wisdom to see that this is a practice path not just for monastics, but for people that have to work, lay people. And a lot of our life is work. So we spend the best hours of the day at work, 7 or 8 hours, sometimes longer. Best hours of the day, best days of the week, 5 out of 7, sometimes even more, at work. Best weeks of the year, 40 odd weeks at work. 45 weeks, 46 weeks, 50 weeks at work. And the years of our life, from the age of, some people start work when they're 16, 17, retire when they're 65, 70. So the best years of our life are at work. So therefore, it's important to have a livelihood that is really right. And right here includes our moral, not breaking the 5 precepts. So not being involved in selling guns and selling illicit drugs and lying and gambling and so forth. So wholesome livelihood that doesn't cause us stress and pain, doesn't cause others stress and pain. A livelihood that engages our virtues, our values, our skills, our strengths, and therefore it has meaning and joy. A livelihood that doesn't disturb or distract from spiritual practice. So the challenge is to then have a livelihood that aligns to right livelihood. Given that we generally need to work, and psychologically it's good to work because the work brings forth our qualities, our skills, our strengths, our passion, if we can, our interests. We grow through our work. But also, again, right, because our work, where we work, the sort of work that we do, the sort of people that we work with, what we have to know, knowledge, information, the thoughts that we have, do affect us and do become us. So a lot of the role of work does affect who we are, how we are, why we are, how we feel and engage into life. People often sort of become very identified with their work. It does affect them in a significant way. My sister's a school teacher, and when I was living in Sydney, at times I'd go out with her and her school teacher friends. You really get a sense of they're school teachers. Even when they're not at school, even when they're out to dinner, they're school teachers. Corinne, you're a school teacher?
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, I tried it for a while, but it's
Loretta?
John, my sister is a school teacher, and I have the same experience.
Yeah.
It's really wonderful.
But it's natural. It's, of course, how we're spending a lot of our time. It does become us. So again, really important to then align to be living and working in a way that aligns to our truth, so that our being aligns with our doing. I talk to clients how if you're doing what you're doing in your work doesn't align with your being, that's when stress happens. That's when anxiety and depression happen. That's when burnout happens. But if your being aligns with your doing, there's flow. There's that being in the zone, actualizing potential.
Thanks, John. Could you speak to you spoke about the harm, that your work doesn't do harm to yourself, but could you perhaps speak a few words around vicarious trauma,
Sure, yes,
depression, fatigue,
yeah,
burnout,
yeah.
How do we?
And that's
That's
challenging because
interesting.
sometimes it's wholesome work, it's good work, it's healthy work, but it does affect us. So we need to therefore work in the right way, so that it doesn't wear us out, which can involve then taking enough breaks, having things that replenish us, being able to debrief and download. Some of the work that I do involves seeing clients that are war veterans, and you can see their work has really affected them. People that are policemen, police personnel, fire officers, it can really affect them, and not just physically, but also psychologically as well, trauma. So even though it might be like a healthy work, even like being a sort of a health worker. There's a client seeing me at the moment. He's an oncologist, and he says, over the years, I've seen 5,000 people die. And, it does affect one's being, sort of the existential angst, questioning life and meaning.
Like, I guess nurses as well, and doctors and
Yeah,
surgeons.
yeah.
Like perhaps the way they've been trained now is to kind of numb a little bit, because they see so much
Yeah.
suffering, I suppose.
And sure, that's often what happens, but that leads to a type of apathy and not caring, closing the heart up so it doesn't get hurt or just burnout. And that's where the Buddhist practice of equanimity as one of the 4 spiritual emotions becomes really important. Equanimity, the balance of compassion with wisdom, as a wise approach to experience the realities of life. So livelihood's really, really important because it does affect us. And even when we've retired, we can still be carrying over baggage or mindsets or memories of work. So to be able to have work that that is aligned to right livelihood. The next of the Eightfold Path is Samma Vayama, which is right effort. An important element because with all of these elements, there needs to be putting in the right effort. And right effort is the right balance. The right balance, effort is energy plus intention. So if we have energy but not enough intention, not the right intention, or if we have the good intention but not enough energy, the effort doesn't happen. So putting in the right effort, which maybe needs to be modified depending upon how we're feeling, time of day, what the task is, etc. How much we're prioritizing that particular task. So right effort, and certainly right effort with the practice of meditation, practicing the path itself. Then we have samasati, right mindfulness. And in a world where mindfulness has become a common word, sort of as the last 20 years, mindfulness has come out of the monastery, out of the closet, so to speak, and sort of gone mainstream. So people talk about mindfulness meditation, yes, and mindful parenting, and the mindful leader, the mindful manager, the mindful parent, mindful parenting, mindful golfing,
Eating.
mindful eating. Sure, it's good. Mindfulness means to do something with awareness, with conscious clarity. Certainly another foundation of the Buddhist teachings is about mindfulness, sati, be mindful. But the Buddha said it's important to have right mindfulness because there's also wrong mindfulness. So wrong mindfulness would be mindfulness that's engaged with the wrong intention. So a sniper or a thief can be very mindful, but it's what they're doing is not wholesome, not skillful. So the right use of mindfulness. And mindfulness, which again is just one word translation of the word sati. We could use attention, focus, mental collectedness, awareness. But the Buddha often paired sati with other words. So yes, Sammasati, right mindfulness, Satipanya, mindfulness and wisdom, Sati Sampajanya, mindfulness and clear comprehension. So not just mindfulness, but what supports it to be used wisely and skillfully. And particularly, also just to go back a bit with right effort is engaging the four right efforts. The four right efforts are putting in the effort to avoid getting caught up in negative thoughts, mental states, emotions, behaviors, associations, situations motivated by or leading to greed, anger, ignorance. So avoid getting caught into that. Putting in the effort to abandon if we have got caught into those negative things. So letting go that thought, that mental state, that emotion, that behavior, that association, that situation, if it's motivated by greed, anger, ignorance. So letting go, get out of there, step back, drop it, put it down. And the third right effort, putting in the effort to develop good things, thoughts, mental states, emotions, behaviors, associations, situations, not motivated by greed, anger, ignorance, but motivated by generosity, kindness, wisdom. So developing the good. Fourth right effort to maintain the good. So maintaining those healthy thoughts, mental states, emotions, behaviors, associations, and situations. So the four right efforts, avoid or abandon, let go, the negative, develop and maintain the good. And the four foundations of mindfulness. So the Sammasati is the four foundations of mindfulness. So mindfulness of body experience, mindfulness of felt experience, mindfulness of mental states, mindfulness of mental content. This becomes the Satipatthana, the foundations of mindfulness, which the Buddha spoke about as Sammasati, and they become meditations. So mindfulness of breathing is within the context of mindfulness of the body experience.
I have one, and I lying in yoga, and then somebody comes in, and he pulled the yoga mat and goes slop, and you saw because you're in another, and then they get the blankets and put and you then are concentrating what the next going to do, and I thought, can't they have mindful? Can't they put it in the doorway to just say, be mindful of how you set up.
Exactly, yeah.
It's like a being thoughtful of others. They're all lying there zoomed out on this person. And I don't think they even noticed. I don't think they're mindful of what they are doing.
That's a good suggestion to the yoga teacher to say, hey.
Oh, I haven't mentioned it, but they have to tread softly. Yeah.
I would think a sign's a good thing.
And I'm mindful of how it upsets.
That's right. That's all good practice.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that mental state. Look at those thoughts. Look at the
and
feeling.
I can feel the anger and that. Oh, for God's sake,
Sorry, the putting blankets where, sorry.
Like dropping them.
They drop them.
Oh,
So we can use blankets, and they bring over, say, 4 blankets, and they just drop them on the ground. They go boom. It's crazy. And the bottle.
Oh, yeah, the metal
Don't bring a
bottles.
bottle in, but then bring a bottle in. Of course, it gets knocked over a couple of times. And I'm very mindful of how it upsets me too. Yeah.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
I'll be.
And it's a kindness. It's a kindness to be. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But also, I guess it's also an opportunity for us to practice tolerance. As
Yes, if we have
'cause
to.
we can't control the progress what other people do.
Or right speech.
Yeah.
Go and have a little bit of a chat.
I'm mindful of that. I speak, somebody is outside, I can see they're about to drop the cigarette on the ground, and I'm very mindful of when I say something of the what will come back at me. And sometimes I withdraw because of that. I just don't want to be disturbed.
The key is being mindful, which helps to protect yourself and also others as well. The last of the 8 factors is Samma Samadhi. And in a way, it's appreciated that all the 7 factors culminate in this last one, Samma Samadhi. They're there to support Samma Samadhi. So Samma, again, right, wholesome, correct, and Samadhi can be used as just the word meditation, but Samadhi more specifically, a coalescence, a collectedness, a concentration of mind. And particularly the Buddha said that Samma Samadhi is developing before deeper meditations or jhana meditations, as I've got on the board over here. So that by practicing these elements, they lead into being able to deepen and develop the quality of mind consciousness in the deeper meditations that refines the mind to then see more clearly in a powerful way. And that's where insight, liberating insight then occurs. The mind lets go of attachment by seeing things more clearly, and that's where enlightenment does happen. So we have then a whole practice path that becomes our way of being, and yes, a template. So aligning to, am I aligning to seeing things in a correct way? Right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. So sort of a sense of measuring up. And the more we are aligned to that, then it becomes a way of being. Free from remorse, guilt, and shame, free from confusion, and again, supporting our meditation practice. Also to appreciate that these 8 factors summarize down into 3, which becomes a practice trinity. The practice trinity in Buddhism is Sila, Samadhi, Panya, morality, meditation, and wisdom. So the morality or ethics part is right speech, right action, right livelihood. The meditation is right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. And the wisdom part is right view and right thought. So Sila, Samadhi, Panya, morality, meditation, and wisdom. Practice trinity. So this is a fundamental teaching of the Buddha. He taught it as his first sermon, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. And in a way, it contains the whole way of practice. And so over the next 45 years that the Buddha lived and taught, he was basically explaining, emphasizing, yes, the Four Noble Truths, but particularly the way of practice, the Eightfold Path. Any further thoughts or questions on this?
I went to the, well, they call it where Buddha did his first ceremony afterwards, and they have a temple.
In India?
I was in India, and I was with the group of people who were enjoying everything, but they didn't meditate or anything. And I got in there, and I had to sit down, and I felt it was just amazing. It was I felt the mindfulness, everything,
Very good.
And people were clambering over, and I was just sitting there. I just,
Sacred sight.
We're going.
Well, at least you appreciated it.
Oh, I did very much.
Yeah.
I think they did too, but in a very different factor.
Yeah. Annabelle?
I'm still like the biggest thing that I struggle with is when this coming back to all of this is like when I notice myself so caught and absorbed in wrong, well, basically all wrong, like like especially wrong thought, and then when I'm so caught trying to use the path, but I'm falling so short to be able to, like, I see it and I'm like aware of it, but it's like just so gripping. And like it can take so long to try and then, like, I try and use right thought to try and diffuse it and all of that, but sometimes I wonder, it's like, it just doesn't seem to just shift it. That's kind of the biggest bit that I see.
Sometimes it does take time, and sometimes it's just about being patient. Just the fact that you've recognized, oh, this thought's not helpful, but the mind's caught into it, just the recognizing is a slight sort of leverage to be able to get free. It's a bit like the story of the two young lovers, and they were in love out in a meadow somewhere, got captured by, or actually the male got captured by the evil witch and imprisoned in a stone tower. And this young man sort of wondered, what's going to happen to me? This witch has captured me. Maybe she's going to turn me into something or other. And his beloved was hiding in the bushes, called up to him in the little window at the top. Don't worry, I'll work out something to do. Don't fret. Just stay patient. He's sort of like, well, how can I? I'm trapped here. I can't get away. I've been sort of mesmerized and brought up here, and now I've woken up, and it's a bad place. The witch is going to do something to me. So she came back later on in the evening with a box of things, and she had a beetle. She had some thread and some rope, and she said to him, that lantern that I can see, bring it over to the window. So he brought it over to the window, and she says, I'm gonna get you free. And he said, well, how can you? You're down there and I'm up here. And so she said, just wait. And she got the silk thread and tied it around the head of the beetle, and the beetle sort of on a spool, and the beetle crawled up to the light. And then she said, take the thread and pull it. And he says, okay, pull. What am I supposed to do here? Well, and to that she tied some twine, to that she tied some string, to that she tied a rope. She was able to pull it up, tied it off, and that was out the window and down. So he got free with just a beetle and some silk thread. So just this tiniest, thinnest little bit of awareness, but just we increase that, and then it's like objectivity. I'm aware of those thoughts, but I'm not buying into them. Aware of that feeling, I'm not going to fuel it. So objectivity, developing and strengthening that. And certainly when we're feeling sort of unease, then we can use the template of the Four Noble Truths, like, this is stress and suffering. I'm upset, I'm angry, or I'm caught up in anger or desires. This is stress and suffering. What's the cause? Attachment. Can this end? This can end if I let go. And what is the way to that? Sila, Samadhi, Panya, morality, meditation, wisdom. Patience and perseverance. Any other thoughts or questions? Comments? Complaints?
I think in relation to what you're saying, John, we should also put a sign saying, if you're gonna get into this path, into this journey, you're gonna suffer. Because you're gonna see things that you don't like about yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the major differences, with New Age stuff that's happening around the world. Everybody wants to get into that beautiful state. And I just remember now while I'm talking to you, I got a friend that she got into, I'm not going to say who, but after 3 months, she had an episode, because she started seeing things about herself. And she started to believe that she went through a depression, and she ended up having therapy. It was really bad.
Well, certainly, the more we engage the Buddha's path, then it's about being aware that stuff's going to come up, but then working on it in a wise, compassionate way, even just having compassion for ourselves, forgiveness of ourselves as well. And also that it's the way that leads to the end of suffering. So that it's a bit like recognizing that, I'm not well, but being in denial of it for so long, I'm not well, so I need to actually do something about it and make some changes. And that's the whole practice path. And but because how long can we get around sort of denying or distracting from the reality of that we're in pain? And it's often the ways in which people try and sort of deny it or distract, it causes more stress and suffering.
Yeah, and if you don't follow the path, you just suffer endlessly. There's no end to it, whereas this offers an end.
Yeah.
Leads to, I guess, physical ailments a lot quicker, right?
How do you
Like-
mean?
Like, so I guess because this path is just, not just, not a good word. This path is to bring awareness, like, because everyone suffers. It's not to say that all the suffering will go, but because we're bringing more awareness and we're feeling it, you know, like the sensation connected to manifest. What is it? The mind, everything that happens in the mind manifests into sensations. But whereas if we're not practicing, it's more suppression, like suppressing it and not feeling it, and then it leads to physical intent. So I think, you know, we're all suffering, but, you know, are we going to allow it to lead to physical? And then, you know, like when we're 50 and I'm seeing like more and more, there's so many conditions and illnesses and popping up in people.
Yeah.
People try to calm suffering and they want to numb themselves, so then they use drugs and alcohol in abusive ways, and you know, so stuff might come up here, but at least you're trying to deal with it in a healthy, wise way.
Yeah. The whole sort of mind-body connection. So the more we're able to calm and clear and develop the quality of mind, it's going to manifest materially into the body in a healthy way as well, so that increasing the potential for health and well-being, even just increasing our immune system. So psychoneuroimmunology can be enabled.
And I get as well what you're saying. It's like so much easier to, before you see that it's really yourself and your view on things, it's much easier to blame all of our suffering on other people and blame it on society. And when you walk the path and you really realize it's your view and your thoughts, and that's very like, because now you really have to face it. You can't blame it. You can't deflect it. And then it's like, now what do I do with it? Okay, so it's not them doing it to me, it's me doing it to me. Far out. How do I now how do I use this? And it's really almost like having to start with that tiny piece of silk thread, like you're saying, right? And build that relationship with yourself, with your mind, with the Dharma, and slowly use the Dharma to pull yourself out of that.
Get free.
I look at it like a jigsaw puzzle. So we break all the jigsaw puzzle into pieces and we get to create, we start putting back the pieces, but they go back in a different way. And I think we, when we become more aware, we have more choices. And when that starts to happen, we create a space. It might be a very small space, a crack. But the more we practice, the more we use that crack, the crack becomes wider. So sometimes it's not easy because we are aware, but I would rather be consciously aware than unconscious.
Yeah, for sure. The Buddha taught how it's possible to transform common unhappiness, common sort of suffering, common unhappiness into an uncommon happiness, which is the happiness of enlightenment. So the transformation from the common pain, suffering, unhappiness that we have into an uncommon happiness through this practice path, beyond just the worldly, the ways of the world and worldly pursuits. And it is a path. It's a path to practice, not like suddenly you're there. It's about walking the path. I was reading a quote from Ajahn Chah, my teacher in Thailand, a couple of days ago, and it was saying that we use the path, we need the path, but the path is just a path. It's not the destination. So we use this path. Yes, it's important, but it's about where it's going, and it's going towards full happiness, full clarity, full enlightenment. So do we feel like having some food? Yeah, body feels it needs some food. Yeah, good. Well, if you didn't bring your lunch, there's plenty of bananas out there. They're off my trees at the back here. So totally organic bananas. There's biscuits there as well. May need to turn the urn up a bit. It was a bit cool, so turned it down early so I wouldn't fall over. But we can have a mindful lunch for about 45 minutes till about quarter past 1.
And then what happens? Because I've just got to get home at a certain time.
Okay, then we'll do another meditation for half an hour. Then we'll do some walking for half an hour. Then we'll come back in,
So, yeah.
and then we'll have some debriefing, questions, discussion.
I leave about 1, so I'll have the next meditation. then.
Okay, yeah.
Observing silence.
Well, noble silence as in not chatting about sort of worldly stuff, but feel free to connect and share. And part of being here is feeling a sense of connection and community. So have some mindful sharing. Make some new friends.
Don't want to talk, turn your badge upside down.
Yeah, if you don't want to chat with someone, just turn your badge upside down so they can't read the name.
That's the sign.
And I'll ring the chimes again at about quarter past 1 to come in for some more meditations. Good. Enjoy. There's various places to sit outside. You can sit inside if you want. So we can settle in for our afternoon period, afternoon session for a couple of hours. Again, maintaining our mindfulness, slowing things down a bit so that we're slowing our movements, walking, changing postures, which also helps to slow the mind down a bit as well. Even slowing speech down can help to slow the mind down. And particularly enabling more inner space, inner mental space, inner mental spaciousness, allowing for inner silence, inner stillness. So these 3 S's important for the appreciating the natural quality of the mind: stillness, silence, and spaciousness, free from mental content, creating space, free from mental sounds, the sound of thoughts, free from movement, enabling stillness, the movement of thoughts. And these 3 things, these 3 non-things manifesting as peace: stillness, silence, and spaciousness, allowing inner peace. So we'll sit for about 30 minutes and then have some walking meditation time, and then some time for further reflections, discussion, questions before ending up for the day. So settling in, settling down, relaxing back into being. Meditation is practicing being and knowing, rather than constantly doing and thinking. Being and knowing. Developing this quality of calm knowing, neutral knowing, non-reactive knowing, calm knowing awareness. And having established our comfortable sitting position, aligning the body with some degree of symmetry, balance, poise, helping to enable some inner mindful presence, Breathing out any stress tension that may have even been building over the happening of the mealtime, talking and so forth. So breathing out any residue, stress tension, relaxing awareness down into the body, grounding awareness in the body, this foundation for experience, the body. And getting a sense of the body simply sitting. Noticing some contact sensations. Being mindful of those contact sensations, maybe feeling our feet connecting with the floor. Just sensing, feeling, noticing. Noticing how that requires no thought, but just an awareness. Sensation of the feet connecting with the floor. And feeling the body connecting with the chair or the cushion or the meditation stool. Mindfully sensing, feeling, noticing that contact. Even that contact's different from the sensation of the feet on the floor. Sensation of the body connecting with the chair, the cushion, the stool. Again, this mindful, neutral knowing. Just noticing, free from the need for mental comment. Just noticing. And then also noticing the placement of the hands and fingers, making sure they feel comfortable, adjusting them if we need to. Maybe one hand touching the other, so sensing that particular contact of warmth or coolness, softness or moistness. Or maybe the hands and fingers also connecting with the fabric of our clothes, sensing that. Bringing awareness up further to our face, noticing our face. Maybe feeling some degree of the air, breeze against our face. And again, just mindfully noticing, sensing, feeling. And also in the domain of our face, noticing light. Experience of light through the closed eyelids. It might even have a color, a lightness, a brightness, a color, patterning, or even just a blankness. Looking into that lightness, brightness, or blankness through the closed eyelids. We may hear background sounds, but no need to think about them. Leaving the sounds alone. No need to think or comment, like or dislike. Just calm knowing. And if any thoughts do occur in the mind, then again, just calmly knowing them. We don't have to engage them, make comment on them, critique them, be upset by them, follow them, be distracted by them. We're just staying aware, developing this mindful context, mindful container of the flow of experience. Simply a general, receptive, attentive knowing. Maybe also feeling the sensation of the movement, breath, entering and leaving the body. Noticing a particular movement of the body with the breath, the chest or the abdomen. Even noticing the quality of the breath now as opposed to earlier today. This particular time of day, afternoon, having had a meal. The body feels different, the breath feels different. Simply noticing either remaining with this more open, spacious, receptive awareness that includes awareness of the breath, or focusing attention more exclusively onto just the breath, probably more at the nose nostril area, more of a directed attention, directing attention, sustaining attention. One way of using mindfulness, more that open, receptive awareness, softer awareness, inclusive, or otherwise exclusive, excluding all things apart from the thing that we're attending to, such as the point of sensation of the breath at the nose nostril area. Two ways of using mindfulness. Simply being, breathing, knowing, moment to moment knowing. Now knowing awareness. The need to remain alert, attentive, not letting the mind go into dullness or distraction. Simply being, breathing, knowing the ebb and flow of the breath, the body, movements. Keeping this calm disposition, perfect presence, peace of mind, peace of body, peace in the body. And continue with some walking meditation if you wish. Otherwise, simply keep sitting or have a stretch and sit outside, whatever feels good. And certainly, as a reminder with the walking, to find a place between 10 and 20 paces long where someone's not going to walk in front of you, and just mindfully pacing back and forth, half the normal walking pace, being mindful and aware of the movement of the legs, the feet, focusing on that rather than the breath, and also being mindful of the end point, stopping, standing for a little while if you wish, and mindfully turning and pacing back. So mindful walking back and forth that also develops great concentration and calm, focused awareness. It certainly can enhance the sitting meditation when we come back to sit again. So we'll do some walking till about 2:15, and come back in, just sit for a short time, and then we'll have a look at any further discussion, reflections, questions before finishing up at 3 p.m. So enjoy some mindful movement. Taking this time to settle back into sitting, sitting posture for meditation. Allowing the mind to settle into the moment, the present moment. Connecting with the physicality of the sitting position, the breath, the body breathing, knowing each individual breath. Settling into this calm, content composure. Being, breathing, knowing in the present. Culmination of having been here this day, practicing mindfulness, practicing meditation, listening, reflecting, sharing. Accumulating this quality of calm awareness, mindful attention, focused attention, present centered knowing. Just before ending this meditation, inwardly reminding ourselves to try and sustain as much of this calm, mindful focus, keeping that going on into the ongoing moments, minutes, hours of the afternoon and evening. And to end our meditation, just taking a deep breath and slowly opening our eyes to finish. Moving towards the end of our retreat day. I think we've done well being here, sitting, walking, listening, sharing. We've certainly done well with the weather. Fortunate. There's a significant discourse or teaching of the Buddha. One of the main reasons that it's significant is that the last discourse, the last teaching of the Buddha, quite a long discourse, particularly involving the questions. A person that was new to the Buddha's teachings came upon him just before the Buddha was to die, so within a matter of hours, and felt very compelled to ask a series of questions. And whilst the Buddha's attendants, various monks, said to this chap to maybe leave the Buddha alone, he's at the end of his life, dying basically, lying down as well. But the Buddha said, no, it's okay. I can use this time to answer this person's questions. The Buddha must have sensed that the person was very receptive and would benefit him to hear some teachings. And a couple of the questions were of this person to the Buddha, how do we tell if a spiritual teacher's teaching is worthwhile? And how do we tell if practicing that teaching will lead to enlightenment? The Buddha said, it's simply that if that teacher teaches the Eightfold Path, then that is a good teaching. And if they practice and teach that teaching of the Eightfold Path, that is the way to enlightenment. So following that teaching will lead to enlightenment. So again, very much emphasizing his teaching of the Eightfold Path as a practice path, a practical approach to life that's beyond doctrine and dogma, belief systems, rituals, fundamental practice that anyone with common sense can see. This is the way that reduces stress, unease, angst, suffering for me and the people that I connect with, and that helps to clarify and purify the mind, particularly through the various practices that lead up to Samma Samadhi, that helps to refine the mind and consciousness through developing and deepening meditation that allows enough clarity and mindfulness to then discern and see the reality and truth of things, and for the mind to not have much more to do in terms of letting go, because it's already been refined through the various practices, and then also through the Samma Samadhi, being freed from the 5 hindrances. And so that the last letting go is the liberating factor towards enlightenment. So a very important and practical approach that, even though it's a teaching, an approach that's 2,500 years old, it's as practicable and approachable and applicable now in the 21st century as it was in the 6th century BC. So something to take to heart and to make use of. Most of the times that we're experiencing some degree of stress or unease, angst or suffering is because we're not aligned to one or a number of factors of the Eightfold Path. Then we can see, I'm coming from a wrong view, or I'm overcome with unhelpful thoughts, or I've been speaking in a way that's caused myself stress or angst, or others are upset with me for what I said, or actions, or livelihood, or not putting in enough effort, or overdoing the effort, not being mindful enough, but not developing proper concentration, clarity of mind. So coming to the end of our Vassa retreats, and not just this day, but also the Vassa 3-month, 12-week retreat period that Buddhist monks and nuns observe around the world as an important period to stay in one location, having designated a particular place to be for the 3 months, which could be a monastery, a temple, could be a meditation center, could be a cave or some sort of environment that's suitable for being for the 3 months. And apart from monastics going on daily alms round, otherwise being stable in that particular situation, in that place. And then after the 3 months, which the actual moon day was on Thursday, some parts of the world, maybe Friday, monks, nuns, and people that have spent time in that Vassa retreat period and place will then possibly move on elsewhere, go to another monastery, go to another retreat center, go back home. One of the women that comes to our sessions here, Chris, she has now spent the 3 months down at Wat Buddha Dharma, the Buddhist monastery at Wiseman's Ferry. So she'll be leaving there within the next short while to go back home. Some of the monks that I know that have been various monasteries will be leaving to go elsewhere. Some will stay. A chance to go and spend time at another monastery or visit various places. So movement happens after that, after the 3-month period. But obviously for us, those that observe the 3-month period, the Vassa retreat, for us it was a non-residential retreat, so we weren't staying in Ratnagiri for 3 months. I was. But that sense of keeping up the practice, keeping up some of the things that you may have engaged upon over this period. And that's, as I mentioned in the beginning, a sense of like building and developing practices and healthy habits that help us to progress, evolve, mature through the course of our life, particularly in terms of spending more time with meditation and study and learning, being in suitable places that are conducive to good people and meditation, morality, wisdom. The Thursday night group that I have will continue up until about the, I think about the 19th or 20th of December. We'll take a break for 3 weeks or so. We still have the last retreat day for the year on Sunday, the 1st of December. I was thinking for that day to have it maybe as a half day. And whilst most of these retreat days, people have brought their own lunch, we could bring food to share with others. Like when we've had Buddhist monks here, everyone brings a bit of food to share and can be quite nice. So to finish around 1 o'clock with a shared meal, and then to stay as long as you want without sort of coming back in and sort of feeling a bit heavy with the food, but to be able to sort of sit and have a bit of a chat and just leave when you wish. So that's Sunday, the 1st of December. And obviously daylight saving time for those that live in Queensland. Be aware of the hour. It's an hour earlier coming to New South Wales. So 9:30 here, 8:30 in Queensland. So any questions or comments, particularly in terms of the meditation or the aspects of the Eightfold Path, the Four Noble Truths, or even Buddhism in general, or the reflections for this 3-month retreat have been looking into early Buddhism, the more foundation teachings of the Buddha? Peter?
John, if one of the objectives is to reduce suffering, and then on the other hand, if you follow the middle way, you don't want to have too much happiness, because otherwise you might get attached to it. Would that be right? Or, because human nature is full of euphoria and emotion.
Yeah, I would say the right type of happiness. So particularly the Buddha's teachings is about don't settle for superficial happiness, get full happiness, which is the full happiness of enlightenment, which is more of a contentment, a peace, a well-being, a deep joy. The joy that comes from not being disturbed or distressed or anguished by things, because one's not attached to things, one engages, can hold appropriately, like if you needed to lift up something, you lift it, you hold it, but you're not attached to it so that you can then let it go, put it down. And again, so that ultimate happiness, Nibbana Paramam Sukhang, the ultimate highest happiness is enlightenment. The middle way is the way between extremes of indulging in self-mortification, sort of self-torture type of overdoing it, and the other extreme of self-indulgence, which is more like a hedonistic type of happiness. So the middle way. And even that, sure, there can be pleasant experiences and pleasant sensations. We can't deny the fact that having these bodies, there's sense experience, which is either going to be pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. And you can't stop the body experiencing a pleasant sensation. Like if it's a hot day and there's a cool breeze, it's like, okay, pleasant sensation. But it's our work not to get attached to that and then miss it when it doesn't happen, or stay out there too long when you should be going and doing other things because it's just a nice breeze. So sort of the appropriate use of the pleasantness, the pleasant experiences. Even there's many places in the Buddha's the Buddhist scriptures where the Buddha talks about the beauty of a certain place, forest, grove, a sense of delighting in it, a sense of the pleasantness of it, but obviously fully enlightened mind of the Buddha or his arahant enlightened disciples, they're not attached to those things. There's lovely verses of Mahakassapa, one of the 10 significant disciples of the Buddha, and he was designated as being foremost in austere practices, so living really simply. And there's these verses where he's delighting in these rocks, these rocky crags, the sound of monkeys, the sound of peacocks in the background, the flowers. So a sense of delighting, certainly appreciating the beauty of nature, but again, not with attachment. Attachment's the problem, not the object, and not even the pleasant experience. It's the holding on that's the problem.
So John, in order to have right view, is that the main thing to be aware of, is the non-attachment in order to have right view, or is it more complex than that?
It's both. So certainly right view is the appreciating that holding on causes stress and suffering. And if you want stress and suffering, then hold on. So the choice is ours. And particularly if we go, okay, well, I don't want stress and suffering. I'd like to have pleasant, pleasurable experiences that are of a more refined nature that maybe involve letting go. So this is where the deeper meditations, the pleasant experiences come, the more the mind lets go of getting caught up in the thinking, pleasant thoughts, memories, and so forth. And the more letting go, the more pleasant experiences.
I guess it's really about the Four Noble Truths as well, right? Having right view, so I understand and live by the Four Noble Truths, then I'm living my life with right view.
So living by the Four Noble Truths will be living with a wisdom awareness of the reality of things, that things inherently change and therefore they can be a source of stress and suffering if we are clinging to them. So that therefore, second truth, that we don't cling to things, allow them to flow, like William Blake's verse, he who binds to himself a joy does the winged life destroy, but he who kisses the joy as it flies lives in eternity's sunrise. So allowing the joys to come and go, not sort of binding to them. So that, yes, pleasant experiences, but not the holding on.
Yes. The word right, is it the word in Pali actually mean more than just right?
It does.
When I think about right, I think about wrong. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just find that word a bit problematic.
Yeah, and some translations maybe would have a different word. It could be correct or wholesome or useful or even wise.
Yeah.
Because sort of as we sort of grow up with, that's right and that's wrong, and then sort of dichotomy.
And then someone says, who says so?
Exactly. Right for who or wrong for who?
Right might not be.
I guess morality is part of it too, right? Moral view, or is that more action?
That's a
both. Sort of mental morality. Yeah, it's be better if there was a different word, or we had a couple of words, but that's the general translation that's used, right? But we could use correct way of seeing things.
I feel like it comes back to language. So whoever is interpreting the word right, I feel like perhaps maybe in the West they're so used to what's right and wrong, as opposed to like, Buddhism is, well, my parents anyway, they don't really view things as right and wrong per se, but it's more it's their karma. Like, don't interrupt, just allow it to be. It's not really right or wrong, just that things take place.
Well, we could even say what, in line with this, what is conducive to more ease and joy and freedom. So seeing things in a helpful way and using the skillful use of thought, skillful use of speech, action. So skillful would be another word to use. We don't use the word skillful much these days. Wholesome, helpful. And again, it's more the what feels, I was going to say what feels right, what feels best for you in terms of the words that one might use. Can be good to try and learn off by heart those eight factors.
I have big attachment to my family, I only have one son, and they now gone to Perth. And it's I know it, and I feel the tug of war within my own self, because I know I have to let go.
You don't have to.
No, but I don't. I know it's suffering then, you know. So
A choice.
no, it's very hard when, you know, especially the boy, no offense, man, is more, he'll go with the family, her family lives there. So I feel quite disattached, but in the wrong way, you know. And yeah, I think just looking for some enlightenment as to how I approach it more better, you know.
Well, that's a good one to go. Okay, well, how can I approach this in a helpful, healthy, summer, right, or wholesome way, so that there's less stress and suffering?
Yeah.
One way is to go, okay, well, there's always a silver lining in the cloud. There's always a blessing in the blight. So if someone moves away, it's like, okay, well, less of a concern and a worry for me. They're going to be less sort of in the way or taking up my time and energy or consuming my thoughts because they're away. It's good for them to be getting on with their life away from me, sort of otherwise being tied in close to one. And even just psychologically for oneself to go, okay, I can see the mind that's wanting, that's based in my identity. I'm a mother. And he's my son, and the more if he's with me, then I get a sense of myself and relating and speaking and connecting and doing and spending time with him and self.
Grandchildren.
That as well. I'm a grandma. So there's the attachment to that identity, which has to get, so that's but is the identity an ultimate truth? It's just a construct. And so we can see attachment to an identity creates stress and suffering, especially if the role gets challenged.
Yeah.
The challenge that a lot of people have when they change a role, like a work role, or even retire, it's like, who am I now? I'm nobody. Which could be an enlightening experience, but often the mind gets distressed and gets overwhelmed.
That's very good. The attachment to the identity.
Yeah. And that's an interesting process of language. The mind identifies something, whether it's the body or an emotion or a role, identifies it. That's a role. That's my role. And it identifies not just with it, but as it. I am the role. I am a psychologist, or I am a meditation teacher. And then if something changes, so it's like, oh, who will I be now? Or if something gets threatened, you're going to be made redundant. It's like, oh, so I'm going to die. My self-identity as that is going to not be anymore and non-exist. And that was the insight of the Buddha, to see that the sense of self is just a sense. It's sort of a sense of a self. It's a idea. It's a mental construct that the mind tries to prop up all the time by, this is me, this is who I am, I've been this for so long, this is what I always will be. But it's fraught with challenge because things change.
Yeah, but that's happened to me, and that my son sees me as a really strong woman. I go out surf, do this, do that. And I had to explain to him, I'm getting older. I'm not really, but he's got this picture of his mother, not needing him or anything. And it's sort of a bit daunting on my side.
So that's his view of you.
Yes, yeah. Which is lovely in one sense. I see the good in it, but
You might see the roles as like you're the carer of him, he's not the carer of you.
Well, I
He
think
can't keep that. I don't need to worry about mum. It's mum's job to worry about me.
So you're saying he may not be able to be the carer of her.
Yeah, as in he doesn't recognize that as a role for himself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then the other side of it is they're
Yeah.
coming for a month over Christmas.
Mm.
And I'm already stressing that I'm going to be too needy and too, and he's already said that to me. He said, "No, Mom, no, yeah, no." And I'm saying, it's just, there are a lot of teachings.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
realize
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And
That's good.
that's good. Yes.
What's the Pali word for feeling joy for others?
Mudita.
Mudita, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's maybe you need to cultivate more mudita.
I shall explain that a bit.
So joy, mudita is a
Mudita.
quality of joy with and for others.
Mm.
Joy in their good fortune, being happy for them.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of
yeah.
feeling sorry,
Yeah.
for me, I don't get this anymore. I'm happy for him that
Yeah.
he's.
Well, I look
so
at my
good luck.
grandsons and I get such joy seeing them and seeing them.
And he has a wife, your son.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
So sort of like now she's the significant woman in his
Yeah.
life.
Yes, oh, absolutely. And that I'm second place. That is very, very obvious, All right.
The natural way of things.
Yeah, I did explain to me he wouldn't be there except for me, so remember that.
Emotional blackmail.
Well, not just sort of explaining the facts of life, so.
It works both ways. He might sort of blame you for him being there.
Oh, well.
All my suffering is because you gave birth
Lots
to
of
me.
So I hope to be here on the 1st.
You might need a break.
Yeah.
Oh, no, well, they don't come till the 10th.
Okay.
I need to set this
Yeah,
path
yeah,
forward a
yeah,
bit.
We might decide to do some sort of Christmas New Year retreat. So you'd be away.
Well, I have actually booked Woodford, and now, of course, in here, it's like, don't want to go, want to be with them. I said, shut up. Shut up.
Right.
So much teaching.
Mm.
Yeah, so much teaching.
So I certainly encourage you to give consideration to early Buddhism, what's being called early Buddhism and early Buddhist teachings and early Buddhist texts, particularly because what is developing is certainly Buddhism outside of, well, certainly India and Buddhist countries. So to be aware of what is growing and what is forming, what is developing, say even like in Australia. And so rather than just transplanting an Asian Buddhist sort of practice or culture into Australia, which is fine, but at the same time to go, well, what is the fundamental core teachings of the Buddha? What did the Buddha practice and teach 2,500 years ago? So as Buddhism develops in Australia or the West, so to speak, it's not just a flow on from, say, Thai Buddhism or Sri Lankan Buddhism or Burmese Buddhism or Laotian Buddhism or Mahayana Buddhism or Zen Buddhism or Tibetan Buddhism. So it doesn't need to have the wrappings and trappings that are culturally based and more specific to those countries and practices and even to the practices before Buddhism went to those countries. So, for example, Vajrayana Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, has a lot of pre-Buddhist practices and ideologies that are in it, that have been absorbed into Buddhism. But by seeing what is the core teachings and practices of the Buddha, it's like, well, you can get a measure, a bit of a template as to what's been added on over the 2 millennia, over the sort of the spread of Buddhism, and to see what may be useful here in Australia as we live and practice it.
Yeah, John, just to comment, so I've been reading that book as well, and I think what stands out to me is what you just mentioned, that trying to determine what are those common teachings, those core common teachings that kind of everybody agrees on.
Yeah.
But also like reading it, maybe it's because of the academic way that he's written it, feel like there's a danger of like over analyzing everything and trying to get down to the detail of what the exact words were, whereas I feel it's more important that, you know, we understand the big picture of the path. And, you know, again, like you can't become enlightened just by reading words. You know, you have to follow the path. And as long as we get the message so that we know we're on the right path, that's the main thing. Out of it. So yeah, I just thought I'd share that. That's one thing. That's like, it's good to analyze this and compare the teachings, but I think the main thing for me is like making sure that, you know,
do the practice.
That the Buddha, you know, following where the Buddha is pointing, and not focusing on the finger.
Sure,
but where he's pointing.
Exactly, yeah.
I picked up this one.
It's a good one. Ajahn Munindo. But certainly to your comment, Brendan, I think we're still fortunate to have academics that are able to look into the Pali language. And because, again, some of the words that, even that I have on these charts here, they come from academics that maybe are in the 18th, 19th century, that translating words that weren't fully aware of the subtleties of the language and just we'll choose an English word. But now we're finding that word doesn't quite fit. It doesn't sort of display what the Buddha actually meant. And so that's where having some scholars that know more specifically what the Pali is and how the Pali relates to Sanskrit, and a bit more understanding, a bit like in archaeology, so that with more refined tools we can understand more about past history, and in terms of why people may have died, because now we can sort of do MRIs of the bones and so forth, and see what was going on, or even sort of look at DNA and check out and have more of an understanding. So too with the benefit of some of these people that's quite scholarly, to lend insights for us then to practice, because they may not be practicing at all or too much, but we can sort of benefit from it, and I think not just take for granted what we have sort of been privy to or engaged upon over the last let's say 100 years of Buddhism being exposed to the West. And certainly for me, I've found it sort of insightful to have a look into early Buddhism, and there's a number of not just academics but also practice monks like Ajahn Sujato, who I know quite well, is an Australian Buddhist monk, and Ajahn Analayo, who's a German Buddhist monk, and a number of others that are sort of Ajahn Brahmali in Perth, looking into what actually are the teachings, and what has been modified, and so what was the Buddha pointing at. And because again, one can go to Thailand, you can go to a forest monastery, and yes, it looks like that's how the Buddha practiced, but there's extra things that have been added that are even more specific to the forest tradition, or to the Thai northeastern sort of people, and then we can discern, well, what's helpful, what's useful, and sort of go from there.
I was just going to ask you about accelerating the process. How, going to retreats, attending more meditation, coming to these days. I really want to be more disciplined.
Become a monastic. That's one way to accelerate.
I did a 10-day, this passionate one. But so apart from doing this Vassa retreat for 3 months, so it's really just a matter of putting all these things into practice and being committed to it. Isn't it?
The challenge,
events.
And that's where the beauty of what we have now is that one doesn't necessarily need to be a Buddhist monastic to practice quite seriously and sincerely. When I was 17 and wanting to really get into practice, the only sort of way to do that really was to be a Buddhist monk. There wasn't meditation groups and lots of books and information. Internet wasn't around. So if you're interested in Buddhism in a serious way, you need to go to a monastery. You need to be a Buddhist monk or nun. And so people certainly did that. But nowadays, there's like places like this. We can come and have a retreat day, and you can hear some teachings from a guy that was a Buddhist monk. Been practicing it now for over 40 years. And plus, there's so much available online. We can connect into some of the best teachers around the world online, even ones that are not alive anymore, through the videos and YouTube things and teachings and books and things that are available. So we're living in a fortunate time, even though there's a lot of stress in the world, but it's a good time to practice Dharma. And there's still a possibility to go and spend time in a monastery. Short time, long time.
Which is here in Australia.
Yeah.
They've always said to have a spiritual master, which I've never had. So that's really important to follow someone.
It can be helpful to have a guide, to have someone that you can ask questions of, that you can sort of connect with, and because people often get off on a path and then end up sort of in a wrong direction, or they sort of just looking at lots of different things and not sort of entering through one door deeply and even getting confused.
Sorry. May I suggest something? Just a suggestion, not imposing or anything. Because you mentioned you've done a 10-day Vipassana. So ever since COVID, they've put a lot of the group sittings online, and it's continued, so it's actually global. So you actually get access, like you can choose a particular location. It could be a 1-hour sitting, half day, full day, and then they actually have live Q&As as well. And I found that to be really beneficial, because for me, it's really just, it comes back to the daily practice and Sangha, which for me, that helps.
And that's, again, the beauty of things being online. There's so much. A lot of the monasteries around the world do have teachings that you can connect to sort of in real time, and also retreats online as well. We need to finish up for this day. We might have just a 2-minute dedication of merit just to finish with. But just to sit and settle and feel and breathe, relaxing into our body, the present moment, feeling the breath. Feeling of ease and joy in having been here this day, this retreat day, the 4th of the 4 Vassa Retreat days that we've had. Connecting, sharing, being present, being part of a community, a Sangha. Looking into and looking after ourselves. Learning about the mind. Learning about peace and presence. Learning significant teachings that lead to liberation, ultimate freedom, great worth, good karma, the great merit of what we've engaged upon. The Buddha said one of the most worthwhile things a human being can do is cultivate the quality of their consciousness, particularly through meditation, which is what we've done this day. So feeling a sense of joy in what we've done, feeling inspired and motivated to continue with our practice in various ways, even supporting both ourselves and our group in connecting on a regular basis to support each other in the practice. And as a dedication of merit, the goodness, the good karma, the wholesomeness, the good energy that we've develop this day, that we can share that with others. So if there's someone that you'd like to bring to mind, a person, a number of persons, even a pet, if you like, a special pet, gifting this good energy, and particularly feeling that we can breathe out from the center of our heart, the place of the spiritual heart, breathing out this good energy, this good vibe, energy information, like a white Wi-Fi, reading that out so that that connects with that person or persons or even the pet, wishing them well. May you receive this gift of goodness, good energy, merit, accumulated through my practice this day. May you be well, happy, free from pain, issue, illness. May you fulfill your life's potential. Receive this gift of good energy, this gift of good vibe, this quality of merit. So breathing into and out from our heart center, connecting and sharing, wishing that person or persons well, and feeling a sense of joy in that gift. And also to all of us here, even those that weren't able to stay the full length of the day, may we all receive this gift of good energy, merit from each other, wishing each other well in the practice, breathing out this energetic joy, this gift of merit to everyone here. May you be well, happy, free from pain, issue, illness, living your life well, according to the Eightfold Path. Breathing out, giving, and as we breathe in, receiving the gift of goodness from everyone. Sharing energy, vitality. It's all of well-being. And then lastly to ourselves, giving ourselves this wish of well-being, and may I too be well, happy, free from pain, issue, illness, living my life well, fulfilling my life potential, realizing truth and freedom. Including oneself in that aspiration, that wish, that dedication of merit. May I too be well, happy, free from pain, issue, illness, living my life well, realizing truth and freedom. We're ready to end this dedication of merit, just taking a deep breath and slowly opening our eyes to finish. So thank you everyone for being here this day, sharing your presence, sharing your questions, sharing your experiences. And certainly do feel free to take some of the free books out there. So they're books from, most of them from Wat Buddha Dharma Monastery down in Sydney. So they sent up a delivery last week. And so any dana money that you put into the bowl will go back there. We'll send that back, which helps to keep the books being printed and dispersed. If there's any bananas left, do take some bananas. Do remember to take your water bottles and things. blankets, whatever you've brought. And be wonderful to see you again either at the Thursday night or as well the next meditation day on Sunday, the 1st of December. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good, good.